Let's talk about a mental health issue, about how your mind makes you the hero of your own story. Let's use a really ridiculous example to kind of highlight things. Somebody comes into your house, a friend, somebody you've known for a long time, and you exchange words, and they disappear off into the kitchen, put the kettle on, grab your biscuits, start eating them, make a cup of tea. And you think to yourself, I never said they could do that. They're stealing my biscuits. They're a thief. And suddenly you've got a thief in your house. And then you explode it up to other things as well, because simply making tea and biscuits wouldn't be alarming enough to make you sound reasonable. So suddenly they're going to attack you, they're going to rape you, they're secretly stealing money. You add a bunch of other things to the top of the list because you're starting to feel silly because basically, they were only making a cup of tea. And them, on the other hand, they think that they usually have a cup of tea when they come in, so they think it's okay to make one. So they're going to make you both one, and we get some biscuits so you can sit down and have a nice pleasant chat. But of course, you don't know that because they never said that. They just assumed. So they wrongly assumed it was okay to have tea and biscuits in your house. So they went to make a cup of tea for both of you, some biscuits, and they went to sit down. But by the time they come out, you're already thinking they're a thief. And suddenly, you're not friends anymore. You're accusing a person that was trying to have a tea and biscuits with you of being a thief. That person then thinks, I'm not a thief. I never did anything wrong. Says, we've always had tea and biscuits. This is what we always do. The fact that they never said anything means they're in the wrong, but it doesn't make them a thief because it's the normal thing for the two people to do. So they're offended at being called a thief and now feel the need to justifiably defend themselves. So they start telling people, all I did was make a cup of tea. So the other person, no, he was going to rape me as well and steal all my money, because simply getting angry over tea and biscuits would make you look a bit foolish, right? So the victim, the person who owns the tea and biscuits, starts escalating it. The so-called perpetrator, right, starts doubling down on the silliness of the whole situation. And before long, the exchange is he would have nicked money. So the person who made the tea and biscuit, or made the tea, then has to defend that point. He's going to rape me, then he's going to defend that point. And before long, you talk about things that never happened. You're actually talking about possibilities that never happened and never occurred to anybody. So that's what I'm talking about right there. Now, if we overreact to something, we do feel silly. Our brain goes into sanitization mode and we try to build things up so we didn't feel as stupid for overreacting to something. If we committed something, some kind of crime, or you're a normal person that hasn't committed some kind of crime or did something wrong, your brain will try and make it seem less of a problem so you can live with what happened. This is what brains do. The trick is to know your brain does that. Try and keep a note of events or some reminder of events so your brain isn't allowed to start making fantasies up. Because it'll make a whole situation into a pure fantasy until what you're thinking about has got no reality with what actually happened. That's the mental health issue right there. You're living a delusion and believing it. Now, I've had it happen to me. I've been on both sides of this fence. I've been bent badly by people I've helped a lot. Bent over backwards for, simply because they were seeing things that weren't there. And I've done things that I regret, sometimes regretting helping other people who then didn't appreciate it. But sometimes, I made mistakes. But I've realised this happens. So I tend to stop myself from getting a bit delusional. I tend to try and hang on to what actually happened and not let my mind go over and over. Because if your mind's going over and over, it's making minute changes. It's like Chinese whispers. Every time it goes through, it changes it a little bit until eventually you can live with whatever it comes up with. So anyhow, you stop yourself from doing that. But you've got to learn to cope with things properly. Now, if you apologise for what you did, then and mean it, and you have to mean it, otherwise the apology is absolutely worthless, and you're a liar. Because if you apologise and don't mean it, you are lying. You are a liar. It's as simple as that. You'd be branded a liar for breaking, your apology or going against your apology. People know you're dodgy. It's a sign of your character. So you have to actually say sorry and mean it. And when you mean it, you mean you won't do it again. This is the key point of an apology. You will not do that again. Right? Then you're fine. You'll be able to move on past that because you've done what you can to sort it out properly. The other person, in the van, could reject the apology. You can't do anything about that. Right? And quite frankly, if you mean it and you promise not to again, that's all you can do. You can walk away happy as the lark. They're now the ones with the problem. They're the ones that have rejected the apology and want to keep on holding a grudge. You don't have to. They're the ones with the issue now. Now, it depends how serious the issue was, obviously. Some issues, it'd be very unforgivable. But normal things, they should say yes. I mean, there was a situation I saw recently where somebody, had COVID and was not following instructions and got angry when told to stay put and built it up into something it wasn't, right? Now, you could simply say, look, right, you're obviously being naughty, don't, just stay there, right? But she chose to make a big issue of it because she felt she had the right to spread this around everybody in the vicinity. And I thought to myself when I heard that, why don't I go around everybody in the vicinity and go, see that person over there? She's got COVID and she wants to spread it to all of you and she thinks she's the victim. What do you think about that? And then she would have been made about that big. But that's not what I do. But the point is that she'd already sanitised it in her mind that she was a victim because she felt she had the right to do anything she pleased despite being highly infectious. So we do it, and sometimes we can do it rather quickly. And she stuck by her guns, wouldn't accept apologies or anything. She was the victim, for not being allowed to spread that COVID around everybody. So you see, these kind of issues come up every single day. And there's all kinds of reasons for it. I mean, the details are really important. There are all kinds of reasons for it. But the point is, you need to catch yourself before you start believing your own hype. Because that is a mental health issue. You will be basically living a delusional life when you start believing something that didn't happen or completely misreading the situation and then kicking off at somebody else that had nothing but good intentions towards you. I mean, sometimes people can be a bit weird. But usually there's a reason for it. Usually they're concerned or, they care about you or maybe a bit of both. But the thing is, there is reason for people's behaviour, which brings me on to the second point. When someone says, you nicked my tea and biscuits, you're a thief. Right? People who know you will judge you by what they know about you. Your leopard does not change its spots. I know people like to think they can change, but generally that's very hard to do. People tend to be the same, and if you do change, it's slowly over time. That's the kind of changes that stick, the slow changes. So if you're known to be honest, upright, forthright, and friendly, and someone says you're unfriendly, nasty, they're not going to believe a word they say. In fact, some people say you're lying. You're a liar, because they know you. They know you're none of those things. The person who accuses you of those things is instantly painting themselves as the bad person. So if you were sort of like going there to make tea and biscuits in the example given, and that person there starts accusing you of being a thief, and everybody else knows you're friendly, you go in, you keep people company, you're nice, and then you go home, they're going to know what you did. And they're going to know the other person is grossly exaggerating the situation. So you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to convince other people you're not like that, because they already know what you're like. They already understand your motivations. They do not need it explaining 2 or 3 times, and you do not need to defend against the escalating points that get thrown your way either, because the more they get escalated, the more the other person looks like they're mean and nasty. So even though you were making tea for them, and it was their tea and biscuits, and maybe you didn't have permission to do it, and that was an honest mistake, The fact that they take it to ridiculous extremes will make them look bad. It'll become part of their character, and that's what people would expect from them. And that will be their leopards with their spots, and that's who they'll be from now on. So you don't need to defend yourself. You just need to be honest, not let your mind sanitize events just to keep things calm. You need to face up to what happened, apologize, make things right, move on. That's how you deal with things properly. And it's when you don't do that you start having these bad dreams, because you know in your head what you're thinking is wrong. Your subconscious will still remember the reality. So it is a mental health issue. You need to stay rooted in reality, and for that you need to have some kind of a mental reminder what actually happened. So you can look back and go, oh yeah, that's the way it worked. See you in the next one.